Ladies and gentlemen, TAMRON 70-180 f2.8 Di3VC VXD G2 version 2 of this lens. It's a long name, I love those names. Practical test today, okay? So let's get right into it. This is a great lens. It's lighter than most of 70-200mm lenses. It's smaller and it's well built. It's when it comes to build quality, it's a typical TAMRON. So it's made of plastic, but everything works great. You have a lot of customization possible. You have USB-C port, you have weather sealing, and when it comes to USB-C port, you can plug in TAMRON utility software and customize some of the functions that you have available, like 3 custom mode for focus and like 1 customizable button. You have also lock button, a great thing for transportation of the lens. You have 67mm thread of the filter, and this is good news because TAMRON is very consistent and it keeps as far as possible the size of this diameter here, 67mm, which is a very welcome feature. So build quality overall and weight is very good. It's slightly heavier than its predecessor, you know, like the previous one. and this is like normal because there's an image stabilization built in. Let's talk about image quality. Image quality is great from 70-180. In center, it's sharp, and both on 70 and 180mm. In the corners on 70mm at f2.8, it is still pretty sharp. At f.4 it is practically perfect. At 180mm you can see some drop in sharpness and contrast in the corners, but it's really small, so stop down to 3.2, 4.0 and it's perfect, but nothing of an issue there. So sharpness, great job TAMRON. It's a really competitive lens here. Now let's talk about distortion. Distortion is pretty visible. There's of course pincushion distortion, so both on 70, and it goes like of course more dramatic on 180mm. Nothing dramatic there though, because like sometimes this pincushion distortion is actually flattering for the portrait work, so a lot of photographers actually like it. So sometimes they don't even turn on lens correction for that purpose, but just reporting that it's there. Now let's talk about work against the harsh light. Against the harsh light, if you work against really harsh light, you can see a violet fringing, violet like how to say, flare. It's very strange actually, it's very strong, but only against extremely strong like this Portuguese sun source of light. In case of portraits against the light, it doesn't really matter that much. The contrast is very well controlled, and actually I like this lens against the light, so don't be stressed with that. Now let's talk about the vignetting, and vignetting is pretty strong, and this is the biggest downfall of this lens, biggest problem of this lens, that vignetting is pretty strong at 2.8. It's nothing dramatic though, because it's very even and pretty smooth. It goes deep to the center of the frame, which you can see on samples, but it's easy to remove in post-production. So I hate this bokeh when it's very dramatic toward the corners of the image, but in this case, it's not very dramatic, easy to remove in post. However, it is pretty visible, so something to keep in mind, both on 70 and 180mm. Now let's talk about bokeh, and this is a very important feature here, because like this is 70-180, so a lot of people would like to use it in portrait work, in some kind of like shallow depth of field work. So I want to report that bokeh on this lens is pretty creamy, pretty nice. There is a cat eye effect on the corners, which you can see on this video, so toward the corner of the image you have some cat eye there, but nothing dramatic there, absolutely nothing bad. So bokeh is pretty nice, not perfect, but it's not messy. There's no onion ring, no like, you know, mess in the bokeh. It's easy to isolate your object, as you can see on one of the commercial sessions that we took with this lens. It's very easy to isolate your subject from the background with that TAMRONito that I call from Spanish. So TAMRONito is generally doing a good work here. Now let's talk about focus. Focus is really like the motor is very good, very responsive in this lens, so it cooperates with my A7 Mark III and my A7 Mark IV very smoothly, as you can see for yourself. So it's like bang, bang, bang. It's like perfectly where it should be, and it's very quiet, which is a good news for video makers. When it comes to video making, let's talk about image stabilization, this VC feature, and it's to me it's working good. Some reviewers discovered some jerkiness in it. I didn't really discover in real life samples. As you can see, monster truck show here. I was like zoomed all the way out to 180 and it worked perfectly fine to me. So image stabilization is a nice and very welcome feature here, and it, in my opinion, works pretty fine. Now when it comes to video work, also let's talk about focus breathing, and focus breathing is pretty invisible here. So again, very good news. You can see for yourself, practically none, and it's both on 70 and 180 millimeters. Now let's talk about close-up image quality, and at 70 millimeters this lens can actually come very close, and I'm very happy that close-up image quality is very good. And you know, like really I was surprised because a lot of lenses at close-up, they go very smooth, very soft, and you know, very like, you gotta stop it down to, I don't know, at least f4 or 5.6. In this case, since straight from 2.8, it's pretty sharp. Of course, at f.4 it goes perfect, but still a very, very good performance when it comes to close-up. And specifically for such a long lens, this is spectacular how close you can come with this lens and how blurry the bokeh and the background basically is. So in portrait work, in commercial work, as you can see for yourself, using this lens is a blast. I mean, I really like the experience of using this lens on my Sony cameras. It is very universal. 70 to 180 millimeters for most people will be totally enough, and the weight, the size is smaller, and the price tag is also smaller, which is a very convincing thing, because up to now, actually, despite the fact that Sony had like amazing variety of lenses on its Sony E-mount, I mean, 70 to 200 2.8 was quite an investment in like even in this system. But now the situation has changed. You have a lot of variety here, and for example, this 70 to 180 can be a very good choice if you've been looking to 70 to 200 and you don't mind this 20 millimeters of difference. So basically, I give this lens a very high rating. And if you ask if I recommend this lens, yes, I do. It's a very good purchase, and if you like zoom lenses, telephoto zoom lenses, this lens definitely should be on your list. Alright guys, I hope you guys like this video. Please don't forget to leave thumbs up, subscribe, and I see you guys in the next one.